Hello dear students, hope you're doing well. So today we have section 3 in which we will be talking about elements and the periodic table. First, let's define element. Element, they are pure substances that cannot be decomposed by chemical changes. It means that you cannot change them from one thing into changing it into a new thing, okay? So for example, oxygen, if it is alone, it's still oxygen. You cannot change it, for example, to hydrogen and to, let's say, copper, for example. So this does not happen. Oxygen is still oxygen. But if it reacts with something else, yes, a compound will be formed. So let's have a look at the periodic table of elements. This table that you see, we call it the periodic table. It consists of more than 100 elements that have been discovered. In this periodic table, we have many things. You see that we have squares. Each square consists of an element. For example, square number 1, which is this one, we have hydrogen. We have some numbers here, the whole numbers. Number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, and so on, up to more than 100. So this tells us the atomic number of this element. This letter gives us the symbol of this element, and right beneath it is the name of this element, okay? And we have to know something, that this hydrogen belongs to nonmetals, which is on the right side of the periodic table, but because the atomic number is 1, that's why it's placed at the beginning. Otherwise, on the left side of the periodic table, all of this up until here, including these two rows beneath them, all of them are what? Metals. On the right side, this, all of it, these are nonmetals. In the middle, the staircase like elements, these are metalloids, or some people call them semi-metals. So it's in between metals and nonmetals. So the left side, metal, other than hydrogen. On the right side, we have nonmetals. Okay. Other than this, we have some things we have to know about the periodic table, that we have groups, or we call them families, and we have exactly 18 groups. Vertically, the columns, so for example, let me use another color. The first column is the first group. This is the second group, third, fourth, and so on up till 18. So how many do we have? 18 groups. That's vertically. If you go horizontally, the rows, we call them periods. Okay, for example, this is period number 1, period number 2, number 3, up until 7. How many do we have? 7 periods. The two rows beneath the periodic table, the first one is the lanthanide series, and the second one is the actinide series. They belong here with these metals, but because it would be too wide, the periodic table, that's why they placed it right beneath all elements. Other than that, we do not have any reason for them to be beneath them. These were basic information about the periodic table. We have to know all of them. Let's go to the differences between types of elements. We said we have metals on the left side. On the right side, we have nonmetals, and in the middle, we have metalloids. Let's talk about their properties. Metals and nonmetals, they are the exact opposite of each other. Metalloids, they're in between them, yani they have properties of metals and nonmetals combined. Okay, let's talk about metals. Metals, they conduct electricity and heat. Most of them, okay, they're solids, other than mercury, which is Ag, a transition metal. It's liquid. All of them, they have a shiny and metallic luster. Their appearance, they're shiny. All of them, they're malleable, and you can change their shape. All of them are ductile. You can form wires with them. For example, the wires we use with electricity consist of copper. Copper is a metal. Examples, you can take any examples from the periodic table such as gold, copper, and aluminum. Let's go to nonmetals, the exact opposite of metals. Metals conduct electricity. Nonmetals, they're poor conductors of heat and electricity. Nonmetals, if they're solids, most of them which they are not solids, most of them are gases. If they are solids, they are brittle, they crumble apart like powder, and many of them, they are gases, some of them are solids at room temperature. But for metals, all of them are solids other than mercury. The other property for nonmetals is that they're neither malleable, you cannot change their shape, and ductile, you cannot form wires with them. Examples, you can take any example such as carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, and iodine. All of these are examples of nonmetals. Let's go to metalloids, as we said, in between metals and nonmetals. Number one, metalloids, all of them are solid at room temperature. They are malleable just like metals, but less malleable than metals. They are brittle just like nonmetals, but not as brittle as nonmetals. And they are semiconductors of heat and electricity, meaning between metals and nonmetals. Some of them, they have a somewhat metallic luster just like metals, but as we said, less, such as antimony. Antimony is a metalloid. They are found in computers, the applications, when do you use them, where do you use them? In computers, digital watches, television, radio, anything related to technology. So this was the difference between the three types of elements that we have in the periodic table. We have group 18, which is the last group on the right side of the periodic table. Let me show you. All of these, they are group 18. We call them noble gases. Starting with helium, we have neon, we have argon, we have krypton, we have xenon, and we have red. All of these are group 18. They are nonmetals. Okay, let's talk about some of their properties. They are nonmetals, as we said, because they're on the right side of the periodic table. Most of them, they are unreactive, inert. They do not react with other elements in the periodic table. All of them, they're gases at room temperature. Their applications would use them, for example, in lighting, such as neon, argon, xenon, and party balloons, the ones that float in the air. We have helium inside. This was it for section number 3. I will see you guys in the next video.